From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Thank you for joining us at 7. I'm Amanda Starantino. There are just 5 days until November 3rd, but is Marion County prepared to run a clean, secure election? Homeland Security, along with city and state officials, say they are doing everything they can to make sure the election goes off without a hitch. They are especially vigilant because of the high volume of early voting. They say all 187 voting sites across Marion County will be closely monitored.
We don't have any information that anything's going to happen on election day that's going to keep people from voting or anything like that. You know, the main thing is that we're still in basically a pandemic. So making sure you wear your mask, try to keep that social distancing. I know that sometimes you get the accordion effect on the lines and stuff like that, and be patient and give yourself time.
Usually several departments like the FBI, Metro Police, and State Police monitor elections from their own home bases. But this year, representatives from those groups will be together at the Homeland Security Operations Center. Uniformed police officers will not be at polling sites, but IMPD says they will have adequate staffing to respond to all polling sites if something comes up. Early voting in Marion County has been plagued by long lines at some voting locations, and the Marion County Election Board will vote tomorrow on a dramatic remedy. It's a plan that would make Lucas Oil Stadium an early voting site this weekend. Ray Steele tells us the battles over satellite voting have been going on for a long time.
Satellite voting in Indiana's largest county is a relatively new concept, unlike most other counties across the state. Marion County has fewer satellite voting locations than many smaller counties. The reason, according to the head of the Marion County Republican Party,
we voted on the plan that the clerk's office came up. The staff and them thought that would be adequate, and so we were more than welcome to go along with it.
But that's not the entire story. Indiana state law requires that any change to early voting can only happen if a county's election board approves it unanimously. Election boards have members of both political parties. In 2008, Marion County opened 2 satellite early voting locations before that election. That was the year Barack Obama carried Indiana in the presidential race. Obama won the state by just under 29,000 votes. Starting with the next election in 2010, efforts to expand satellite early voting failed because the Republican member of the Marion County Election Board voted against it. Republicans on the board also blocked early voting expansion in 2012, 2014, and 2016. Their reason? They said that operating the early vote sites was too expensive. However, most other Indiana counties were expanding satellite voting with no objections from either political party. In 2016, when Republican Donald Trump carried Indiana, Democrat Hillary Clinton got fewer votes in Marion County than Obama got in 2008, 29,000 fewer votes. In 2017, Common Cause Indiana and the NAACP sued the Marion County Election Board in federal court for discrimination against black voters over the refusal to add early voting locations. The next year, federal judge Sarah Evans Barker, a Ronald Reagan appointee, ruled in their favor. The election board then came up with the current early voting sites as part of the settlement agreement in that lawsuit. The chair of the Marion County Democratic Party told WRTV they wanted more early voting sites, but that Republicans would only agree to the 5 operating now. Regardless of what happened in the past, if the election board votes unanimously on Friday, Marion County will, for at least 2 days, have the biggest early voting site in the state's history. Working for you, Ray Steele, WRTV.
A reminder, we will have live coverage of everything happening next Tuesday on Election Day Live here on WRTV. We'll look at all the key races, plus we'll have analysis and results when they come in. Look for us on the WRTV app on streaming devices such as Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. We will also provide you live results throughout the night here on WRTV with a complete wrap-up on the news at 11. And now to our continuing coverage of the coronavirus and its impact on Indiana. The State Department of Health reports 3,649 new cases. 33 more Hoosiers died with COVID-19, bringing the total number of COVID-related deaths to 4,024 since March. More than 172,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus, and more than 2.8 million tests have been administered in Indiana. The state's largest school system is among those not participating in the state's COVID-19 dashboard. Currently, IPS is disclosing every Monday the number of COVID cases and quarantines at each of its schools. The district says its students have only been back for learning 2 weeks, and they want to focus to make sure its own COVID protocols are set and being followed consistently with their families.
That's our constituency that we're most concerned with, making sure they know what's happening in their particular school community and that we're giving them that information. So that's been the focus for my school leaders right now. We are certainly not opposed to participating, but in terms of where I want our team to be prioritizing our time, it's in getting those communication protocols correct.
The superintendent says she works closely with the Marion County Health Department. She says her leadership team will review when to participate in the voluntary state reporting system. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic and with more than 2 months left in the year, a record number of Hoosiers have given the gift of life through organ donation in 2020. It's never easy losing a loved one, especially in a pandemic. But when Tina Gaither's mother died in June, she saved 4 lives through organ donation. Her kidneys, lungs, and liver went to 4 different women.
They were all pretty much a group of her peers. And she would have been ecstatic. She just would have been ecstatic to know that that's what she's able to help someone else still have a holiday. I mean, the holidays are coming, and these ladies should be home with their families.
The Indiana Donor Network cites several factors that were critical in facing the many challenges of COVID-19 and reaching this milestone. Early on, they partnered with the State Department of Health to get COVID-19 testing for every single potential donor. Plus, they worked more closely with hospitals to increase donor referral rates, on-site evaluations, and the age range of patients who can become donors. More than 110,000 people nationwide are still waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. 1,300 of those patients are here in Indiana. Every 10 minutes, another person is added to the National Transplant Waiting List. Anyone can register to become a donor at the BMV or by going to donatelifeindiana.org. Kevin joins us now with a look at our forecast. It's been a little rainy today, Kevin.
Kind of a gloomy day, but this gives you hope for tomorrow as we begin a stretch of days that will be very nice. The orange glow on the western horizon out in Putnam County. Let me put on display some of nature's beauty on the west side of Indianapolis. Nice rainbow. Tom McCabe sharing that with us from near Ben Davis High School, Chapel Hill area. The rain still ongoing. Greenfield to around Newcastle. That'll make its move through Richmond as well. The broad picture, rain coming to an end. There's your temperature trend. We'll be in the 30s when you wake up in the morning. We'll talk about what changes arrive for your Friday and beyond coming up.
It's not on the ballot, but the issue of legal marijuana is on the mind of many Hoosiers. Up next, our political insiders get fired up over the issue. Welcome back. A recent poll conducted by Survey USA found that a majority of Hoosiers believe marijuana should be legal for both medical and recreational use. Another 24% believe it should be legal for medical purposes only. 16% of Hoosiers say marijuana should remain illegal. And it's not on the ballot for this election, but the legalization of marijuana is once again an issue. It was one of the topics this week at the final debate for the candidates for governor. Rafael Sanchez took this issue to our WRTV political insiders.
The gubernatorial debate did focus on jobs, racial equity, but marijuana also seemed to have been a topic of interest. So is the state ready, KIP 2, to move towards legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes?
Not to get too much further into the weeds about weed, but I want to add to Megan's point, and that is that there are 30-some states already that do it. So there's a lot of research out there. Marijuana isn't good for you. I don't want anybody to be misunderstood. For recreational purposes. It's not necessarily a great thing, but it's no worse than alcohol. And that's the point, really. People ought to have the freedom to enjoy recreational marijuana like they have the freedom to enjoy recreational alcohol. That's the bottom line. And you can talk about medical statistics about everything. Alcohol is worse for you than marijuana.
And also, when you're looking at places who have struggled with the opioid crisis and doling out medications to deal with pain issues, from a personal perspective, my wife has Crohn's. They try to give her opioids to deal with that. Marijuana would be a much safer, better way to address pain management for lots of individuals. And I think it would be a very positive thing.
It is actually something that just makes common sense, frankly. And even Attorney General candidate Jonathan Weinzapfel, who's running on the Democrat side, announced this week that he is in support of legalizing marijuana and taking those funds and using them for education, for criminal justice reform. I think the figure I saw is that $170 million could be raised just by legalizing and taxing it.
But this would be a politically popular and probably budget-friendly thing to do. However, if you are a conservative of any stripe, we should be following the laws. And I think what has happened here is that Congress has failed to create law that would be conducive to this. I mean, the fact is that this stuff is still illegal on the federal level, and states that have legalized it are operating on shaky ground and kind of a wink and a nod understanding with the federal government on whether or not they're going to enforce the laws that are on the books.
Thank you so much, our political insiders. Thank you so much. And our Democracy 2020 coverage continues right now on WRTV.com.
Over 5 inches of rain this month, 5 1/3 basically, but the pattern is changing. We'll talk about that coming up.
Drug overdoses are one of the leading causes of death here in the U.S. And our Kelsey Anderson learned we are seeing a rise in cases here in Indiana because of the lack of face-to-face interaction and new drugs on the streets.
Studies show a rise across the country in overdose deaths, but here in Marion County, according to PubMed.gov, we are seeing a 47% rise in overdose deaths since the stay-at-home orders were put in place. Beatty says the main problem right now is isolation and the lack of social interaction.
Family members, community, work, whoever it may be, aren't being able to see the telltale signs that a lot of people look at, or they start looking at themselves. With the isolation, it's really led to a lot increase of the issues, but also a bigger increase of them not being able to be identified or have access to the resources available.
He says since the pandemic started, they have trained more than 500 people to help those interested in recovery now on the digital platform. If you want to get involved, visit this story on the WRTV News app. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Another change that happened this summer, the FDA is now requiring new labeling on opioid medications that recommends healthcare professionals discuss the availability of naloxone to their patients. And United Airlines is going to offer free coronavirus tests to passengers ahead of their flights. The airline hopes the move will help get more people traveling again. It's calling the plan a pilot program for now and say it can essentially guarantee that everyone on board is COVID-19 negative. The 4-week trial run starts November 16th, just before the typical hectic holiday travel season. Passengers will have to arrive 3 hours before their flight to get rapid test results in time. Coca-Cola and Amazon are teaming up for a contactless experience. Coke's Freestyle machine uses a touchscreen interface and features more than 200 drink options, but soon you won't have to touch the screen. The beverage company teamed up with Amazon Web Services to create a mobile pour solution. Basically, you operate the machine with your smartphone. There's no app. All you do is scan the QR code on the machine, which brings the touchscreen interface to your phone. Then you press pour until your cup is filled. More than 30,000 machines are now equipped with this technology. Amazon says all of the Freestyle machines in the U.S. will have it by the end of this year. When you gotta vote, you gotta vote, even when you're in labor. A pregnant woman in Florida was on her way to the hospital to give birth, but made a detour to cast her vote in the 2020 election. A voter services employee in Orange County, Florida, was processing voter ballots when a man handed her his driver's license and his wife's. He said he already voted, but his wife had not. The employee told him his wife had to be present. He replied his wife was in the car about to give birth, but she refused to go to the hospital until she cast her vote. The clerk then went to the car to help the expectant mom.
She was calm. The husband was a little bit more nervous. We want to facilitate every voter is eligible to vote, the right to vote, and no matter the circumstances. I gave her I voted sticker, and she was on her way to the hospital. She was very happy that she got to vote.
Well, staff at the voting site are planning to get the baby a onesie with the words "First Vote" on it and stickers that say "Future Voter." Kevin.
How about that? Well, for our weekend forecast, some changes. We're mild Saturday, cold on Sunday. Cold and windy. That factors into the story to end the weekend. 56 Saturday, 47 on Sunday. What else happens this weekend? Halloween. Temperatures comfortable in the evening on the Saturday. It will be breezy during the afternoon, but I think calming down, and temperatures falling into the upper 40s as we go through the evening hours. Most importantly, it will be dry. What else happens this weekend? We've got the time change. You fall back. There are your sunrise and sunset times Saturday morning. You set your clock back 1 hour when you go to bed on Saturday night, and there are the new times for Sunday. 5:41 is when the sun will set. Back to our current reality of some rain. Just passed through Greenfield, Knightstown, just southeast of Newcastle, and it will move through Hagerstown, Cambridge City, Richmond, probably clip Rushville, as well as Connorsville. That's really the back edge of the rain that left a trail of solid 1 to 2 inches of rain in the southern half of the state, not so much to the north. 42 in Richmond with the rain, 49 in Lafayette as you're dry, 52 in Terre Haute, that's one of the warm spots. Temperatures everywhere over the next 24 hours will be quite cool and below average. Wanted to show you the low temperature story. Monday morning down to 26. That will be the coldest temperature we've had so far this fall, and a hard freeze expected. High temperatures the next few days bounce around as well. Tomorrow, we'll struggle to hit 50, but at least we'll see some sunshine. Briefly warmer Saturday before that very cool Sunday, 47, but with wind gusts to 30 miles per hour. Through the day tomorrow, mixture of clouds and sunshine as we attempt to dry things out. A nice night for Friday night football. Temperatures in the low 40s at kickoff, falling into the 30s by the end of the game. They got a full moon on Saturday night as well. That's a blue moon because the second full moon of the month, October 1st, and then on Halloween, we've got the full moon, and you'll be able to see it. Saturday temperatures, as we mentioned, 56 degrees, but take that 5 and 6 and flip it, and you'll come up with the 65 that we'll have later next week. We will be mild again, 64 Wednesday, 65 on Thursday. It's just we've got some cold days between now and then. Also, all 7 days, dry. We deserve a dry stretch after having 10 out of the last 12 days, at least having a trace or more of rain. We'll be back with more right after this.
Americans who are born in Jerusalem can now request to identify Israel as their place of birth on their passports and other consular documents. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made the announcement today. Previously, Americans who were born in Jerusalem could only mark Jerusalem as their place of birth on official documents. Dozens of Applebee's and IHOP restaurants will be shutting their doors permanently. Dine Brands, the parent company for the two chains, announced it's shutting down up to 100 restaurants. They did not say how many IHOP locations will be shuttered, but according to Dine Brands, about 15 Applebee's locations could close their doors. The company blames the move partly on the economic impact of the pandemic. The closings are expected to happen over the next 6 months. No word on which locations will close or how many employees will be impacted. COSTCO will no longer sell coconut milk from a Thailand-based producer because of allegations of monkey labor. PETA says it comes after their undercover investigation, which revealed captive monkeys were picking the coconuts. The animal rights organization says COSTCO is joining thousands of other stores, including Walgreens and Food Lion, that have already banned coconut milk that use monkey labor. PETA says COSTCO will resume stocking the products once new policies are implemented. And just in time for Halloween, we are learning an interesting fact about these creepy crawlers. This is the scary sounding ogre-faced spider. Scientists have learned they can hear even though they don't have ears. It turns out they are able to listen to sounds through receptors on their legs, including leg hairs. They can detect sounds from at least 6.5 feet away.
Ingenious, huh, Amanda? Now, see, I have ears, but I'm still told I often don't listen. Temperatures in the 30s tomorrow morning, 42 by noon tomorrow. I hear everything you're saying, Amanda.
I know you do, Kevin. Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11. We'll see you then.